Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on a Friday afternoon. I hope your Friday is not as grey and gloomy as it is in London. So it was so nice when we put this together to see so many people that we know, ex-clients, ex-colleagues, some Farmer Brands friends, and also lots of new people too. So thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for taking your time out. I guess if you're new to Farmer Brands, like, welcome. And for those who don't know us, we're on a bit of a mission here to help improve AI literacy. So for you guys, for those working in healthcare, mainly in marketing and comms, and today we're really focused on medical. So what do? We run events, both physical, in person, and live events and digital. We work with all healthcare brands. So is this needed? Well, we think so. A recent survey said that 72% of life science professionals feel under-equipped for the AI era. So that's a huge amount of people that don't feel ready, which we totally get. Like, AI's turned up and it's come at such rapid speed. So I guess with that bombshell, let's do a poll to see how you guys are finding it. Obviously, it wouldn't be a webinar without starting with a good poll. So if we could bring that poll up, it would be good to know how you guys are feeling about the space. Yep. That's super interesting, and like, I'm happy to say we're not too surprised. This matches a lot of the trends that we've been seeing at Farmer Brands. We spend so much time doing quant and qual research into trends in the AI space. I guess not just what's possible, but what a team's actually doing, what's getting traction, where things are a real pain in the bum. I guess we're here today to talk about trends. So I guess, what did we learn in 2025? What were the main trends? For us, I guess we really saw the rise of shadow AI. 66% of life science professionals report using unauthorized AI tools at least weekly. So you may have your approved tools, but a lot of your colleagues, and maybe you, are just hopping on their phone, or they're in other browsers to get answers. So the other thing that we've seen a lot in 2025 was the fear. So I think a lot of people believe that their roles could be automated within the next 12 months. In a recent study, this was 82%. So more than 8 in 10 see automation as imminent, not just distance. So for us, I guess that grounds us into our thinking for today. Like, these trends really reflects skill gaps, I guess pressure on the workforce, pressure on our ways of working, and it just shows this rapid pace of change that like we here at Farmer Brands are really focused on supporting you with. And I guess that's really why today's conversation matters. So today is all about how Gen AI is shaping medical affairs as we look forward. So looking into 2026, what are we going to see? What are going to be the main trends? We've got 3 awesome case studies around. One's on insight, one's on like efficiency and scaling, and one's on internal AI agents. And then what we're going to do is bring all our panelists back together, and we can have a discussion. So you do have the ability to ask questions. Keep them coming, because I'm moderating this and we'll pop in and we'll answer them. But before we move on, there's a couple more polls that we'd like you to do, and then as we'll use these insights a bit later for the panel. So if we could just play those polls back to back. We've got 2 that we want you to do, and they may take it, they're a little longer, so you may need to read a little bit more. But please do have a think and answer honestly, because these results we're going to use will give a really interesting lens, I guess, for the panel later, particularly around where you guys are placing your bets for 2026. Thank you so much. And if you could do the next one straight away. And while you're thinking about the next one, I'll do the housekeeping, as that's my role today. So we are recording today's session, so you will be able to watch it back. We will send it to you. If you have any questions at any point, like I said before, please do drop them in the chat and we'll pick them up wherever we can. Right, I think that is enough from me. So let's get started. So if I could bring up Phil. So we're super excited to have Phil. Hi, Phil.
Okay.
Phil oversees the strategy at Inizio, and part of his remit is also overseeing the AI innovation piece. So when we were thinking about doing something in January to kick off the year and to talk about trends, we were like, the perfect person to talk about this is Phil, because he can talk about the research he's seeing and also trends he's seeing from across his clients. So if I hand that over to you now, Phil, and you can talk to us about some of the things you're seeing and one of the trends that you'd like to discuss today. So
Of
thank you.
course. Thank you. And thanks all for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. I think one of the biggest AI trends I'm seeing at the moment is that move from experimentation by a couple of keen individuals to more the daily integration into medical affairs, and by an increasing number of med affairs professionals as we go through. I'm seeing it as a specific call out in the majority of client strategies that I interact with right now, right from a corporate and procurement level down through franchise and down to brand level. And if you think about it, that makes complete sense. Mission of medical affairs is to get the right medicine to the right patient as fast as possible. And AI can be a significant enabler here. And it's not only in terms of task automation and efficiencies, but we're seeing more and more AI usage for insight generation. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Faster decision making, evaluation of impact. And just to go back to the poll when you said 82% see automation as imminent and folks being concerned about their roles, what I'm hearing is it's critical that AI is an augmentation. It doesn't replace humans 100%, and particularly humans with medical expertise. So I think within Med Affairs, we're pretty safe at the moment. What AI is doing is freeing us up to be better at our roles. And a lot of that is our strategic input to certain decision making. So an hour isn't long. What we're aiming to do, we want to spark some thoughts about how you can address that strategic line that I mentioned earlier, how you can execute on your strategies with some simple ideas using AI. And the first one of those is an AI augmented gap analysis. So gap analysis, critical medical activity, as I'm sure we all know, used in many areas, such as evidence generation to uncover key data gaps using literature search and helping us to structure real world evidence generation plans to fill those gaps. Or we can incorporate claims databases, EMRs, etc., to better understand patient unmet need, social feeds, and extending the data outwards further so we can understand healthcare professional knowledge gaps. So it's a very important part of a Med Affairs role. And again, as I say, something that AI can help us run much more effectively, because one of the key issues, there is an incredible amount of data being generated on a daily basis. And it's creating something of an issue with a manual approach to stay on top of it. Oncology alone, I think it's something like 4,000 articles a week being published. Much of these data are unstructured, so they're PDFs, they're websites, they're social feeds. That type of unstructured data is growing at something like 3 times the rate of more regular structured data. And there it lies a temptation to shortcut the rigorous gap analysis approach that we've all grown up with, and go a bit more on gut feel and think we know what the gap is, and just write it. And I think we are missing so much from an insight perspective in that fashion. And as I say, as the data increases, the temptation to do that more so gets stronger as well. With an AI approach, it enables you to perform real-time analysis at scale. And we can apply AI in various aspects of a gap analysis. So from the front end, in terms of pulling your search string together, we don't have to be afraid of it pulling in vast quantities of data. We can use AI to help modify the search string particularly if we're new to a therapy area, we can use it to immediately identify synonyms to make that search string much more powerful. And then, of course, it helps us filter the data by scanning titles and abstracts for relevance. It can really cut down the time involved. Using natural language processing, the LLM can aggregate, cluster, interpret unstructured data, as we mentioned, those increasing volumes of unstructured data from multiple sources. And then it uses topic modeling to analyze and identify clusters or groups of similar words within a body of text that enables us to identify those trends and then subsequently to help identify true gaps. And then it can also help us with the report generation. So it can give us a jump start on report creation. So speed the time to getting that final report. So the benefits, there's multiple benefits from saving time, being more accurate, generating insight. But for me, the most significant benefit is allowing our medical experts to spend longer generating strategic insight. So that time where you were scanning or where you were looking at data, you can actually use that to apply the thinking. Again, back to role protection, I think that's what we want to do. And I think the majority of us got into this business because we were curious and we asked questions and we wanted to find out more. And I think that is the role of a med affairs professional. And I think these tools can be extremely beneficial in helping us to do that. We did this very recently for a client in oncology, vast volume of data. It was a very quick turnaround project, and we deployed AI very effectively to get to some gaps that were perhaps, going back to my gut feel, gaps that just weren't considered. So it's an extremely useful way of assessing a large volume of information from multiple sources very quickly. Some of the benefits here of having the AI, obviously the speed, the volume. We also picked up, I think as a human, we would have perhaps parked it to one side as noise, but the AI recognizes it as trends because they're seeing these small little spikes in multiple areas and actually picking it out as a trend. So it offers a real benefit to running a very structured approach. And then, of course, on the impact side, AI, I mean, humans, that we can see it immediately. AI perhaps doesn't always give the best answer, and we need to pull that out by reviewing it ourselves. I think there was a significant percent, so it was 32% came out, or actually it was maybe a quarter of the studies returned were old studies, so they could be immediately taken. Some of it also requires the human contextualization, where perhaps the AI has routed to pharma websites. And we can see that and we can point that out. So it has to be the combination of the human and the expert to make this effective. So overall, extremely useful assessing large volumes of information to uncover potentially otherwise hidden gaps. And thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Phil. Hi, I'm back. Right, love that. And we've had a few questions come through, so we've probably got time for one. I really liked how this approach, I guess, gets you, we love data, don't we, in Med Affairs, gets you to look at a lot of data very quickly. I also really liked how it allows you to move beyond like a point in time exercise to something a bit more kind of repeatable. And obviously that's also so much more cost effective, right? There were so many times when I was in agency and we'd do a research piece, we'd get our recommendations and we'd run and then we'd have to revisit it. And I think that approach just speeds things up. And I also like that you use the phrase human in the loop. So yeah, because obviously everything we're doing at the moment is AI is at the heart, but really you need those experts, otherwise you're not even how do you know what good looks like? So really like how that came together. I guess one question is around other areas. So like the example you gave was around kind of insight, but could you use this approach in any other areas?
Yes, you could. In terms of the assessment and analysis of vast quantities of data, it obviously lends itself extremely well to systematic literature review. So there is an application, but also ongoing literature monitoring. I mentioned in that example, 4,000 oncology articles a week. To actually stay on that, it is very difficult. And we have setups with clients where we have ongoing literature monitoring so we can keep on top. But again, it's back to the critical having a medical expert in the loop that can point out the so what. So we identify the trends, but then it's, well, so what does that mean to you? What is the action that should be taken? So yes, I think it's an extremely powerful use of AI that has multiple applications.
Final question, stakeholders involved. When you got this, you guys had this idea, you've obviously got an approach, but then when you're working with clients, was it just the medical team you had to onboard? What would you recommend about getting that kind of startup team together?
I would recommend it's across. So we quite often use this approach in integrated evidence generation planning, and then you've got a cross-functional team. So you can get commercial input, access input, as well as the medical input. And then you've got a much more rounded approach to understanding the type of search that you're going to be doing, and then hence the gap areas of interest from a cross-functional perspective.
Awesome. And can I say, thank you for being on time. Go team. Right. So goodbye, Phil. Hello, Jamie. So we are super, super, super excited to have Jamie join us. He is currently at Boehringer and is their global head of medical affairs. So lives and breathes everything we're talking about today. And he's sharing a really practical case study on how AI has saved you time. Loads of time. And I think it ties really nicely into that trend we spoke about at the beginning of seeing a problem and then having AI in your toolkit as like another team member to kind of help you solve it rather than just, oh, we need to use AI. So Jamie, I'll hand over to you now and I'll leave you to introduce yourself and share this awesome case study. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So hi, everyone. So just to correct the slide, I'm actually the head of Global Medical Affairs Excellence. I don't know if my manager would appreciate me taking her title. So anyway, welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. Want to chat with you a little bit about some of the work we've been doing to help accelerate really sort of the rudimentary operational tasks, that repeatable things that really take up a lot of resources, whether they're human resources and time, and want to just share an example with you today and kind of talk through this piece. So as a background, just want to touch on three main areas. You'll hear me repeat this sort of over and over again. One, we're looking at how do we transform through AI, right? How do we enable our organization to convert these operational bottlenecks into these scalable breakthroughs? And we've got some example I'll share, and you can share some other examples too if people are really interested. And how do we get efficiency at scale, right? So we optimize the workflows. As a growing company, we're always looking for ways to become more efficient, more scalable, and that's something that we're really trying to hone in on. And then last but not least is really being innovative and thinking about things differently, and really thinking through how we can impact the flow of business and really free up our medical affairs professionals to do their jobs, right? To do the thinking, the strategy, and really be really part of the larger process. So the challenge we were faced with, one of the many challenges we were faced with, the challenge we were dealing with here was we receive thousands of funding proposals a year into our funding portal. Upwards of, can be upwards 4,000 or 5,000 proposals easily. And what we've learned is that it takes about 45 minutes for one of our medical funding officers, to sit down, review that proposal, make an initial review, make a determination of what it should do, what it shouldn't do. Is this something we want to pass on to the teams? Something we pass on to a review committee if it's in our med ed space? What does that really look like, right? And it's all proposals across the board. And if you do some math, right, some real quick back of the envelope mathematic calculation, it works out to be about 3,700 hours of reading that has to be done, which is about 100 work weeks in nonstop reading. So all you do is nothing but read from start to finish, no breaks, no meals, nothing, right? we know the average American works about 1,760 hours officially a year. Americans are known for doing their best to get it all done. And so for us, this really becomes a resource strain problem, right? You're not, and that 760 hours a year of work time isn't, you're not going to start your day and start reading and read for 8 hours straight and then stop reading. You got to do other things. So we realized very quickly that this was a scalable problem and something we wanted to take a look at as we dug in to why this was important, right? So one, when you've got to read through this volume of information, we definitely have delays. It's a manual process, right? So we have delays in review times. It slows down our decision cycles and really reduces our ability to be nimble and respond quickly as an organization. So something that we really wanted to focus on. Two, our high resource costs, right? Our human resources are some of our most expensive resources. They're some of our most valuable resources as well. We know that, and we realize that these manual evaluations were increasing costs and increasing time and really taking up resources. And as I said, we're as a growing company, as we start to expand into new areas and new therapeutic areas, we're getting more and more requests. And so we knew that we had to come up with a better way to do this. We also get inconsistent evaluations, right? There's human bias. Whenever you read something, oh, I'm familiar with this group, I'm familiar with this physician, I'm familiar with this organization. And we really wanted to make sure that we were evaluating things, for quality and fairness. And we've got a great team of people who do that, but really we could take that out, take that away, it would be good. And then we knew, as I mentioned, it was just going to be unsustainable. And we wanted to make faster decisions, be more nimble, and be quicker as a company. So what we did was we sat down with a group of folks internally. We started to have conversations around what can we do here, right? And so what we came up with was, can we automate an initial review, right? So we're not making the funding decision. To Phil's point, we're not replacing people. We still have to have that human element to come in and have that conversation. But can we automate? Can we do an initial review? Can we put a score or a grade into that to speed up the process to say, this really matches what we're trying to do? This doesn't match what we're trying to do. If it doesn't match what we do, it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's not good for us in the moment. And then the ones that do sort of match get passed on for then a review. And we can eliminate up to 80% of manual reviews by sort of having this initial screen, right? The AI also provides a consistent evaluation, and we'll talk about how we got there, because it's not just, plug it into Copilot and watch it do its work. It's a little bit more than that. And I know my colleague Sarah is going to talk about building agents and what that looks like. So more to come later on today in this session. But we wanted to build in a scoring and a grading system that made sense, that was free of biases. And then we wanted to be able to scale, and certainly we are able to review dozens and dozens of proposals in seconds, versus the hours it was taking to review them previously. So the way we took approach to this, actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and I'm going to come back to that slide. So the way we implemented it was simple. We actually started by a pilot, right? So we sat down, we said, what do we want to cover? How do we want to start the pilot program? We want to do some initial testing in a very controlled environment, right? So in a sandbox, if you will, to steal terms from my technology friends. We wanted to build a sandbox and let them play and see how it would work, right? We built a scoring model that we thought made sense based on the criteria we wanted to use when we evaluate proposals. And we then started to teach the AI, this is what we're looking for. This is how we want you to do things, right? We then brought in a bunch of historical data. The great thing about having a system is we have a bunch of historical data with previous decisions made. So we brought in a bunch of historical data, dumped it in, and then let it do its thing and see what can we get, right? And then from there, we were able to collaborate and refine, and that was a blend between our business colleagues, right, our IT colleagues, and we actually have a group inside Boehringer called Geek, and we actually found someone in the Geek who was able to help us do this and did a great job building out this automation for us. So what is the implications of that? Now I'm going to go back. Is we realized that by doing this, right, we're able to sort of accelerate these operational things. And so as a test in one area, we're now able to expand that to other areas to really gain traction in what we're trying to do. It allows us to be more efficient. And as we start to scale up, we're able to now start looking at not only in the evaluations, in the vendor assessments, but we also can automate our anti-bribery, our compliance checks as well to make sure that the folks we're working with meet our standards. We're able to then streamline these high volume operations. We're starting to look at other areas like MedInfo, and as Phil mentioned, literature searches, bringing in AI to do that. We're looking at AI to integrate insights, not only from our field team, but from our Congress insights. We've been able to develop real-time applications where we can collect data and aggregate in real time using AI, and let people just unstructured thoughts, right? And we'll structure it for you using the AI. And then the broader organizational impact. We are continuing to do this. I would say 80% of our projects that we've got this year are all AI based and bringing AI and AI solutions into our existing processes. So really timely and really sort of exciting on how we're approaching this. So in closing, just some, and this quick call to actions, right? AI can absolutely transform your operational bottlenecks. You don't have to boil the ocean, right? You can start small. You can kind of pilot, make sure it works, because this is a little bit, it's a little bit of the unknown for folks. People get a little scared when it says AI, but everyone wants to do it, right? And so my recommendation, start small, come up with a real solvable problem. Don't be scared to start with something that could be really impactful, even if it's not massive, right? You think, oh, screening through a bunch of funding applications isn't the most earth-shattering, groundbreaking thing in the world, but when you can really reduce people's workload and let them start to do other things and be more thoughtful and more strategic in their day-to-day, that's important, right? Drive efficiency. Efficiency isn't optional, it's the future, right? And as you're in a big company that's trying to scale, you've got to become more efficient and you've got to be able to scale. And so that's, keep that in mind as you're doing this and remind people that's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to take someone's job, you're trying to become more efficient so that you can then scale and they can continue to develop and do other things, right? Use these solutions, start your journey, pick something, just get in there and go for it. I will say this though, act decisively and try things out, right? If it doesn't work, that's okay. That's why you do it in a small environment. But you're not going to get it right the first time, and definitely want to make sure that you, but you feel empowered and take those small wins where you can get them, and just continue to build your momentum.
Love that. And I didn't know, so I've learned something about these geeks at Boehringer.
Yeah.
Love that. I really like that as an example in terms of how you've walked it through, but also like how scalable it is. Not that you started with the point to scale, you started with a problem to solve, but actually this can be scaled and it can be very consistent. Question though, I guess consistency made me think of review. Have you seen any bias when they're kind of reviewing these funding applications? Has the AI picked up on any bias that you've had to deal with?
Not in particular. I mean, we are just wrapping up the initial pilot, right? And we're starting to scale this out. I think it was like we were 96% accurate to what the original, like on the test data. And I don't think, I mean, I think initially we're kind of looking at all just to make sure that it's doing what we expect to do. To Phil's point earlier, right? Someone's got to check these things. There are definitely AI does make mistakes. But no, we haven't really seen too much bias that we've detected yet. It seems to be working as expected and as advertised. But I think as we start to scale, we obviously are going to keep an eye on that moving forward.
In terms of scale, so this was a pilot in the US, right? Only.
Correct.
What about when you're looking to kind of go global? Because I know there's a lot of people on the call that are in global remit. So like in terms of understanding regulations, the decision-making process, how does that work? Or is that something you haven't had to think about yet?
No. So, I mean, we're incorporating it for a global environment. We're working with our US team just to get it started, but it's the intention is for a global environment. I mean, these are applications that are coming in. People are asking us for funding and support of various projects, and we're not using it to make the actual decision, right? What we're doing is saying, this aligns to what we're trying to do, this doesn't, or this is and it's then what it's doing is it's kind of eliminating the things that we don't really want to waste our time on so that the folks who are doing the reviews can really focus on it. So we haven't really run into any significant issues yet with someone saying, gee, you can't do that, because it is an internal review piece. It's nothing externally facing. Obviously, as we start to do external stuff, we have to think differently about that. But so far, we haven't really had that, haven't had that challenge.
Cool. Thank you so much. And Jamie will be coming back and joining us in the panel later.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
Bye. Thanks. And I'm going to bring up Sarah now. So obviously super pumped to have Sarah join us. Sarah's the Associate Director of Medical Affairs at Vertex. And now she uses an army of agents, and obviously this is one of the biggest trends we're seeing at the moment, and we're getting asked for all the time at pharma brands. How can we use agents? How do we get agents into our workflow? Where should I be using an agent? I guess our recommendations are linked to what Phil and Jamie have said. Don't just build an agent for agent's sake. Think of a problem first and then figure out the solution, and it could be an agent. But Sarah's going to show us how super easy it is to even build one. And she's used a Copilot example, because we also know that a lot of people on the call are using Copilot. So thank you so much, Sarah, and over to you. And I would just say to everyone, thanks for your questions. Keep them coming, and keep thinking about questions for the whole panel as well. So thank you, and thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Kate, for inviting me to be here today. It's a really good pleasure. I really like the AI geek that Jamie mentioned. I don't consider myself an AI geek, but maybe an AI curious person. Let's keep it like that for the moment. So we've now reached the point in the webinar where the robots appear, but don't panic. This is only a very friendly and helpful and compliant robots that I bring you here today. But really, this image is just to almost showcase how I think things will evolve for us in medical affairs. I don't think at all will replace us, exactly like Jamie and Phil said, but more like expand how we work and transform the ways that we work. And today I'm going to talk about, as Kate said, a Copilot agent. For those who do not know what a Copilot agent is, it's really the same as a custom GPT, like you'd find in ChatGPT. And I'm just going to show you today about our product Copilot agents that we've been working on. So as much as I would like to think that I know all the answers about the product we work with, I don't, and hopefully my manager isn't on the call today. But the problem isn't really the amount of information or the lack of information, is really that there are lots of documents that we need to flick through, more so for complex questions. We have FAQs, we have protocols, we have publications, we have data on file, product labels, I mean, you name it. And sometimes the question is quite complex and you need to flick through so many documents. I would call it even finding a needle in a haystack at times, and it's time consuming, and you have, less thinking time to do things that are of more value. So before you know it, you can easily spend about 1 hour looking for the answer. So that's exactly where the product expert agent came from and was born, and we created it within our team. What it really is just a Copilot agent where you ask the question to, it gives you an answer in seconds, and in the end, you just verify the answer before you use it. So just going in a little bit more of details. As you can see here on the right, these are all the documents that it can hold in its knowledge source. It helps you find the answers very quickly just on those specific documents that you link it to. And it really can support as well newcomers. So think about if you don't know anything about the product and you're just learning, in the format of a chat, you ask it a question, gives you an answer, you go and accuracy check it yourself. So you're almost like cementing as well the knowledge that it gives you, and then you can follow up with another question about something else related to the product. So it's also super useful for people that are joining your teams as well. But also it can be built on rules and guardrails just to make sure that it's super strict about the information that it gives you, but also gives you some of warnings and asks you as well to accuracy check the information. So it's something that to be built as well with quite cautious as well. And these are just some examples that I've put together to show you the benefits of having something like this. So, for example, our team is based in the international headquarters. So we deal a lot with various countries, like European countries, Switzerland, UK, Australia. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of different labels. Sometimes the product have slightly different indications and nuances in its product label. So one of the examples we usually showcase is asking, for example, what is the indication of this product across the different countries, and create a table just to show it in a nice way. And it's quite wow to see that table come into fruition in just a matter of seconds, as opposed as you opening every single label and creating the table yourself. So it does really save quite a bit of time. So I've talked a lot about speeds, but really the main impact, and Jamie also touched on it, is really to bring up efficiency in our teams, to support that learning, but more important, to free you up time for what matters the most, that medical value, the strategic thinking, strategic decisions, and sometimes really just the publications that you have to read that you don't have time to read and are there waiting for you. So it's just a matter of saving time as well. But enough of theory. Kate kindly put together this video just to show you how it's built. Very quickly, you can find how to create agents in your Copilot. On your left side, you see new agent. You can just add the name onto it, provide a description. I mean, if I were you, I would be very specific for example, what the sources it has access to. So does it have access to the labels, to the FAQs, publications, what it is, and for what teams? You can, of course, just make it available just for the specific teams as well. And then you provide the instructions. This is something I'll go into a little bit more detail because it's quite important that you have that right. So this is just a template, and I would encourage you to discuss these instructions with your legal and compliance teams as well. One important thing that we did was to not allow it to go to the web, so it will not get information from the web, but just from the specified sources, which you can link through your SharePoint as well. And then you can also add some of the prompts just to almost help your users to ignite the discussion with the chat. And then it's really easy, right? But if you also talk with your Copilots team, they will be able to build the agent through the Copilot Studio, which will have more options as well, and even monitor some of the KPIs. So rules and guardrails that we have used. And by the way, this is not exhaustive, but just to ignite some thinking as well behind it. And as I mentioned, I would work with your legal teams and compliance. But one of the things that we thought was really important was to be able to flag off-label information. So that's why it asks the users where they are based, and then it can compare it with the label of that country. Only having one source of truth, so it should only have available the latest approved resources, and there should be an accountable team monitoring it. You can include it an internal slide. So of course you don't want someone to answer a question in a jargon way, but so it can give it like a professional style and your company style as well. It's also important that it cites the exact wording of the references, so that does not just give an interpretation of the references. So we thought that was important, and also give you the exact reference so you can easily click and do the accuracy check. And then very important to always ask the user to treat the information as confidential, but also to make sure that the user is doing that accuracy check. In a nutshell, at the moment where we are piloting this baby of ours. It's in a very small scale. It's only within our amazing team. Shout out to you guys. Hope you're there. And what we're doing is really gaining feedback, testing it, adapting as we go, tweaking the instructions, making sure everyone knows how to use it properly as well. And for the moment, that's where we are, and we're making sure we trust it enough that then be ready to expand it, ready for takeoff, as I shall say. So here we are. I hope you've enjoyed this example of a use case of Gen AI in medical affairs. I mean, there's other cases that we can build agents for, and I'll be sharing that as well at the Gen AI at the event in March. I'm sure Kate will talk about it. But I think I just wanted to leave you with one question, which is, what is the most repetitive tasks that you do? Where do you spending the majority of your time where it does not bring enough value? Those are the tasks I'll be looking into implementing AI on, and just try it. As Jamie said, try it, experiment it. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time, but I think in the long run, really, it will really support how we work and how we are, how we are evolving in the ways of working with AI. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. I really liked how practical that was. We seem to be speaking a lot about how we can be more efficient and how we can cut down time and how we can use it as being, part like another colleague rather than just, a big scary thing, which I like. We're breaking it down. A really nice example of like AI augmenting expertise, not replacing the human. Cool, we've got one question, or we've got time for one question. So what data, I think people would like to know what data you've been putting into your agents. Is it just the product label? What other kind of information are you using? That would be helpful.
Yeah, of course. So for us, it because it's only accessible for our team, we can be a little bit more open to more information. So we have some data on file and protocols as well. We also have the FAQs that we could use, for example, in the field, just because these are the materials that we normally have access to in our day-to-day roles. Of course, if we were to expand these, for example, to the wider team, we'd probably be a bit more cautious with what they can and cannot use, right? So for us, it's the materials that we have access to in relation to our product, which also includes publications, etc.
And you touched a little bit on kind of the prompts and the guardrails that you put in place. But how do you ensure, and I guess there's an element in managing risk here, the correct interpretation of the documents? So how do we know that the agent's pulling out the right information and the information in the, in the way it was meant to be? And have you, I guess it would be really nice to know if you've seen it get it wrong as well. Like not everything's going to go right. Yeah. So be interesting to know your take on that.
Yes, I think in the beginning, because we didn't have a lot of guardrails, we did see a lot of interpretation that wasn't exactly what the document said. And I mean, we only know it because then we learn to as well critically evaluate the output, and because we deal with this day in, day out. So one of the rules and guardrails we've utilized is we don't want it to interpret anything. We want it to cite exactly or reference exactly word by word what's written in the document, so that we can accuracy check, or at least give that as a reference before compiling an answer.
Got it. Right. Now we're going to bring everyone back as promised. We're going to have a little panel. So welcome back, guys. And we promised the audience that we would talk today about trends. What does 2026 look like in terms of using AI? And hopefully, like we've tried to be as case study practical examples, as many as possible would be fab. So Phil is going to moderate this. So the pressure's on you now, Phil. I could actually warm you up, Phil. How about this? We had a question come in and I didn't have the chance to ask you it, but I think it's quite a nice one around data and how when you were doing the gap analysis research, how do you govern that data to minimize risk of hallucinations? So if we could start with that question, I will disappear and then we can maybe hand over to you, Phil, and you can do the trends. Does that work?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
That's a simple answer in that we have to have the human component. This cannot be a tech-only solution. It does not work. We talk a lot about unintended consequences of AI. And if you're not careful, all of those efficiencies and savings that you've worked hard to get going just disappear. So we absolutely need the human involvement. So just to start off, a quick one for Jamie, because I was looking at your slide, just the call to action that you said, how are you a call to action of encouraging stakeholders to adopt AI-driven solutions and start the journey towards operational excellence now. I think many people are in that situation. Any tips on how you can encourage and engage stakeholders to adopt AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was, look for an obvious problem, right? I was trying to find where is there really a significant, almost easy, low-hanging fruit, whatever phrase you want to use, right? So trying to find that and then really just having a conversation. Big cultural thing at our company is people will grab a coffee and have a conversation, and we do it all the time. And I found that if you just sit down with someone and say, hey, listen, I was looking at this, I think this might be a problem, I'd like to take a look at it. They're like, yeah, that's a problem. Let's take a look at it, right? And I think you're not going in and saying we have to change everything. You're just saying let's start with something, right? Start with and pick something obvious, right? Don't go for obscure. Even if it's an easy winner, like I said before, this isn't the sexiest thing in the world that you could be doing with AI, but it gets the job done. And once people get a little taste and like, oh yeah, wait, this actually can work, then I think, you can kind of build from there and you demonstrate something works. Well, yeah, let's try that again. Let's try it here. And I think that's my approach to it. It's worked so far. And I would recommend people try that because I think you can get somewhere with that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think you're right. It's not build it because we can, it's build it because we are solving a need or a problem.
Right. The other thing I'll say is this, and someone said this the other day, and I'm going to steal, I don't remember who it was, I can't give them credit for it, but they said, don't build a solution and then look for a problem.
Yeah.
And we do that a lot with some things. And so this is a case of find your problem. Just don't make it a big one. It's okay if it's not the most glamorous thing in the world.
Yeah. Sorry, you mentioned rules and guardrails, and particularly in our industry, that's obviously critical. When and how and who do you involve other stakeholders? How does that fit into the process?
I think that really depends on the tool you're building. So, for example, if I can talk just about the agent that I was discussing, at the first pass was really within our team. Do we see a need for it? We've been flicking through so many documents, it's taking so much time. And then thinking, because it's just between our team, let's try to almost plan it together, bring up what is actually required, and then when we're ready to then expand to wider team, taking into account that our team would know the risks and the issues that come with it, then we would involve legal and compliance to make sure that all the guardrails are built in, as well as all the SOPs are taken into account. For the moment, is piloting just within these small cohorts, and then definitely I would involve other members.
Yeah, and I think that's getting easier the more of these that we do and the more familiar other stakeholders become with this kind of process. So Jamie, what do you think the biggest lesson is that you've learned over the past year or so regarding the use of Gen AI?
Yeah, so actually there are two of them. One is, find the right people early, make sure you include them in the conversation. But for me, the biggest thing has been don't be afraid to make a mistake. I mean, I think a lot of times there's this fear of making an error, and it's okay. Like I try to encourage my team all the time. Don't do it on a big scale if you don't have to, but try to find something, play with it, and if you make a mistake, it's okay. We'll learn from that mistake and we'll move forward. And I think, that's something we struggle with, I think, sometimes as an industry, but I think it's something that we have to embrace, especially with new technology like this. We certainly, and I've heard, from other colleagues about, stories about, groups that have used AI to do meeting minutes and they got disseminated to the whole world and they weren't supposed to. Like you always hear these horror stories. It's okay, you made a mistake, so you'll know what the permissions need to be next time, right? So I always try to find where's the learning moment in these things, and I think that's the biggest takeaway for me has been it's okay to make a mistake, and we've got to, as leaders, we have to encourage our folks it's okay to make mistakes, and we have to encourage our leaders above us that it's okay if our teams make mistakes. And I think that's if you're trying to be perfect, this isn't, you'll never get anywhere with AI because it's not a perfect technology.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Don't be afraid to fail, ideally on a small scale before you go
Yeah.
wide. Sarah, how about you? What's your biggest lesson from the past year in Gen AI?
I think really just being more vocal about what you've used AI for, because, one, you can inspire and help others. And then two, you get to hear their use cases as well and just learn from each other, because we're here today and that's great. But I would like to see more of this, more like hands-on. What can you do at the fingertips of your day-to-day work? Because that's really what's going to, empower people to learn more, to trial more, as Jamie was saying. Like we shouldn't be careful, we shouldn't be afraid of testing the tool, because that's how we're gonna learn. So that's be my take. Sharing a lot and involve everyone.
And Sarah, where you can share, bearing in mind the companies that you work for, what's the best example of Gen AI use in medical affairs that you've seen recently?
I thought we just talked about it today, didn't we?
You get to go again. You can have another one.
I think to be honest, I think the insights piece that you mentioned, the making sure we are like being more fast and like quicker at seeing the trends with insights is a really good one. And if that can feed into the strategy straight away, and then really leveraging AI to free ourselves from that burden, I think that would be really, really good. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, thanks. Jamie, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Sarah said. I've got some really smart people on my team who are like to tinker with things, and they've done a really good job of working on insight, not only from our, we obviously have a lot of unstructured insights from our field teams, but we're now working on how do we get insights from our headquarters-based folks when there are conferences and other interactions, and are working on, almost a near real-time model. Not perfect in its early phase, and we're still rolling it out through some of the major conferences, but we have worked out a way where we can, on a mobile device, collect insights in real time. Hey, I just met with so-and-so. This is what they said. It flows through, and we're using AI to kind of aggregate that information and then feed back in real time. Obviously, you're not changing your strategy real time at a conference, but it gives you sort of those real time insights that you can sort of understand what's happening. Kind of like they talk about social media listening. You can kind of get that real time, similar now with our insights. And then obviously we're building that pipeline to feed into the folks that do the insights reporting and provide that information back to the strategy team. So I think that's a big piece. I think, when you look at the volume of data that our field teams create just by being out there, and then the volume of information that we gather at conferences, I think there's really this is a big piece. And my guess is almost every company is working on this. Maybe they're not talking about it out loud, but and if they're not, I hate to do this, people, because I hate when people just like, you're probably behind if you haven't been thinking about this yet, but there's still ways to do it. I know a lot of companies do it manually, but I think, this is a great place where the tool can help to help, sort of synthesize thoughts for you.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it at the start, didn't we? That it's everyone's strategy to get the right medicines, the right patient as quickly as possible. And so speed is where AI comes into its own. Jamie, another question for you. Where are you investing budget in Gen AI activities for 26?
Everywhere. I mean, we are, my remit is a lot of the brick and mortar, foundational work that Med Affairs has to do. MedInfo, MedPubs, MedEd, omni-channel, literature searches, stakeholder engagement, all of it, right? And so we were actually talking about this the other day. We were looking through our 2026, previews. We're getting ready. Most companies were getting ready, so thinking about 2027 budget planning. And almost every project my team has done is enhancements to existing systems using AI. And that is just to, again, be more efficient, be more scalable. As we had a couple launches last year of new products. We've got, a robust pipeline we're excited about, that we're trying to make sure that we can meet the demand as it's coming. And we know that we're not going to continue to add headcount and ad infinitum just to meet this demand. We've got to become more efficient, and that's what we're trying to do. So almost every regulated process, almost every system that we currently manage, we're looking at ways to bring AI, whether it's pulling information across or aggregate information or providing information out. We're investing. Kind of an overly broad answer, but it's true. It's literally, as I'm sitting here trying to think about every single system that we own and operate for the company, we're investing AI resources into for this year.
And is that the same at Vertex, Sarah? Where are you investing this year?
Well, I can only speak from my experience, right, and our team. In our case, it's perhaps slightly different, right, because it's a different ways of different work that we do as opposed to Jamie. But what we're thinking of is where can we actually save utilizing in-house AI from my team's perspective, and then utilize that extra budget for what is most impactful. Is it like a study, for example? So that's a slightly different thought process, but that's something that we have been doing in our team this year.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I think we're nearly at time actually, and I think Kate has just rejoined us.
Hi. Yeah, so I just want to say a huge thank you, really, because we've been very punctual. We're all about the efficiencies and we value everyone's time. So perfect. A huge thank you to Inizio, who have been our partners on this one. So thank you to Phil and all the team behind the scenes that have made this happen. Thank you to Jamie and Sarah, who agreed to do this and got slides very organized ahead of time. So huge thank you to you guys. It's been awesome to work with you on this, and thanks for sharing. It's been so practical, it's been so honest, and yeah, just thank you, really. Hopefully this has given everyone a few ideas to take back to their teams as we look into 2026. I guess my two takeaways on trends for 2026 are, one, I guess people approach real problems with a mindset of how can Gen AI help here. Accuracy can be now be met with speed and ease, which is awesome. And I guess agents will be, I think it'll be as normal as sending emails soon. As more people experiment, we showed you how easy it was. Sarah showed you how easy it was earlier today. You'll get more confidence. So please do give it a go. We will be sending the slides out after this, and also the video. So yeah, it should be super easy for you guys to use. And then I guess I've said a few times today, if you like what you've heard today, then please do, and you like case studies, please do think about coming and seeing us for our event, which is the Age of AI Europe. It's in person. It's on March the 10th. It will be awesome. Sarah will be there. Phil will be there. Jamie, if we can fly you over, you are welcome too. But our theme is all on the rehumanization of marketing. So some of the things we've touched on today, how do we get those experts aligned with AI, and how does that impact our comms? We've really focused on case studies. Case studies, because this is what everyone asks us. But we've also got some outside industry experts who can focus on kind of you and your career. So we've got Michelle up there. Michelle is currently in partnership with Stephen Bartlett doing the largest ever survey on AI and motivation in the workplace. And she will be revealing the results of this study first at our event. She is awesome. So we've got some people outside to hopefully give you case studies, but also with some examples of like coaching and leadership in this new world. So please do go and check it out. We currently have 200 off, and that expires next Friday. So please do share, please do think about it, and please do book by next Friday, because then you can get 200 off. And who doesn't like a bargain? We like saving time, but we also like saving money. And I guess final plug, if you haven't attended one of our events before, everyone's sold out, which John, I, Neil, and the team here at Farmer Brands are super proud about. And 100% of everyone surveyed has said they've learned something new. So please do, if you're thinking about where to go, if you're thinking about where to learn, come join us, check it out. And we also offer, we've got a lot of other things in the pipeline coming up at Farmer Brands. So we offer some free meetups all around the world now, so check those out. yeah, so please, you know where I am if you've got any questions. Thanks for coming here, and have a great rest of your Friday. And thank you so much to all for joining us, and thank you so much to our speakers again. Thank you so much.